911, what's your emergency?
I killed my mom.
What? What are you talking about?
That night was a sad one for the whole family. He killed the blooming flower of his own house. And it is their mother.
There were no screams the night she died, only silence. The kind that thickens the air, presses on your chest, and whispers that something terrible has happened. Room 13 of the Hollow Pines orphanage had always been quiet. Too quiet. That's where Elijah stayed, alone, withdrawn, and peculiar. At only 13 years old, he carried an aura far too old for his fragile body. The other children avoided him. Even the caregivers whispered behind closed doors, uneasy about the boy with the jet black eyes in the drawings. Elijah never spoke, not once since the day he arrived, 2 years ago, soaked in rain and covered in blood. That night, the headmistress had called the authorities. She found him sitting on the front steps, his mother's blood soaking into the folds of his sleeves. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He simply looked up at her and smiled, softly, as if something inside him had finally been freed. They asked him what had happened. He drew a picture, a house, a woman, a figure with hollow eyes standing behind her, holding a knife, and himself smiling. They blamed trauma, called it a coping mechanism, labeled him dissociative. But deep down, everyone in that building knew Elijah was not like other children. 2 years later, strange things began happening in Hollow Pines. It started with the birds. Dozens of them, crows, ravens, starlings, crashed into the windows of room 13 over the course of a week. Shattered glass littered the floor. Elijah remained calm, sweeping it up with careful hands, humming to himself. Then came the drawings, hundreds of them, taped to the walls, tucked under floorboards, hidden inside the mattresses. All of them featured the same twisted figure, black, eyeless, lanky, and silent, always watching, always grinning. Mrs. Kettering, the night nurse, was the first to quit. She claimed Elijah's eyes moved in the dark when he was asleep, that they glowed. No one believed her, not until the dreams began. Every child in the orphanage started waking up at the same time, 3:13 a.m., screaming, crying, saying the same thing. She's coming for us. But this story doesn't start with Hollow Pines. It starts with a woman. Elijah's mother, Margaret Hale, she wasn't a bad mother, not in the traditional sense, but something about her was off, cold. She never smiled, never hugged him. Sometimes she'd stand in the hallway for hours watching Elijah sleep, breathing heavily. Other times she'd disappear for days, only to return with bloodshot eyes and trembling hands. The neighbors whispered that she was into strange things, that she talked to herself in foreign tongues, that her house always smelled like burnt sage and iron. The truth was far worse. Margaret Hale was part of a cult, the Hollow Eye, an ancient secret group obsessed with summoning a being they called the Grinning Mother. They believed she was older than the world, a thing of teeth and whispers, bound beneath the earth, feeding on love. To summon her, they needed a child born of blood and silence, Elijah. He remembered the rituals, the basement with its chalk symbols and bones, the chants, the candlelit circle, the night she offered his soul to the thing that smiled through mirrors. But he also remembered something else, the voice, not hers. You do not belong to her. It was warm, comforting. It came from inside him, beneath his skin. I can free you, Elijah, but you must do one thing. He did it, without hesitation. He waited until midnight, watched her light the black candles and begin the chant again. And when she closed her eyes, arms raised toward the ceiling, he picked up the blade she kept hidden in the altar drawer. She never saw it coming. 13 stabs, one for each year she had tried to sacrifice him. They said he was in shock, that he must have walked to Hollow Pines on autopilot. But Elijah had never been freer. He had killed the monster in his life, or so he thought. Back in room 13, Elijah began hearing the voice again. But this time, it had changed. Colder, hungrier. She's not gone. The drawings became darker. No longer just the eyeless figure. Now they showed Margaret. Her face melted, flesh peeling, eyes completely black. And behind her, the true monster, the grinning mother. One night, Elijah didn't sleep. He sat in front of the mirror, whispering. The next morning, 2 children went missing. No bodies were found, only teeth, and a note scribbled in charcoal on the orphanage wall. She's inside the boy. The police came, investigated, questioned everyone. Elijah said nothing, but every night he would sit on his bed and hum. That same soft tune he'd been humming the night his mother died. By the end of the week, the humming spread. Other children, caregivers, even the headmistress. All of them started humming the tune in their sleep. That's when the nightmares got worse. More missing kids. The walls bled. Mirrors cracked. The number 13 appeared on everyone's doors, even though there were only 10 rooms. Room 13 was no longer locked, and Elijah was no longer alone. On the final night, a thunderstorm struck. Lightning set fire to the east wing of the orphanage. Firefighters broke down doors, rescued who they could, but they never found Elijah. Only his drawings, and one mirror, unbroken. In its reflection was not the room, but a basement, candles flickering, and Margaret Hale, smiling, holding her son's hand. They were waiting for someone new. Hollow Pines was shut down. The land was left to rot. But they say if you walk past it at exactly 3:13 a.m., you can still hear the humming. And if you look into the broken window of room 13, you'll see a boy smiling, waiting for his mother to return. 3 months after the fire, the town of Graybridge pretended Hollow Pines had never existed. The lot was fenced off, warning signs nailed to the charred wood. But no one dared to remove the ruins, not out of laziness, but fear. The mayor himself refused to authorize any demolition, whispering to his assistant that some places are meant to decay in peace. But decay doesn't always mean death, not when something is still alive underneath. Detective Marion Voss didn't believe in ghosts. She believed in facts, in blood, in footprints and fingerprints and bruises that told stories louder than any myth. So when she was assigned to investigate a string of new child disappearances, all within 10 miles of the Hollow Pines site, she thought it was a case of a local predator. Until she saw the first body, if it could even be called that. It was a shell of a child, skin pale, mouth stretched wide, lips torn from the corners like someone or something had forced them to smile. No eyes, just black, hollow pits. And on the wall beside the body, scrawled in a child's handwriting, "I'm not the only one smiling now." The bodies kept coming, always at night, always with the smile. Some were kids who lived near the old orphanage. Others were simply passing through town. Their parents said they started humming days before they vanished, that they would sit in front of mirrors for hours whispering to someone unseen. Then they'd disappear. No forced entry, no noise, just silence, and sometimes drawings left behind. Pictures of a boy in a burning room, a woman with melted skin, and a tall, grinning figure standing in the shadows. The local papers started calling it the Smile Plague. Detective Voss called it a pattern. She didn't believe in curses, but she believed in obsession. And the deeper she dug into Hollow Pines, the more twisted the truth became. Elijah Hale, age 13, accused of killing his mother, orphaned, mute, vanished the night the fire destroyed the orphanage. But there was one thing the reports never mentioned: the tapes. Old surveillance footage from Hollow Pines, recovered from a melted security room. Most were static, scorched beyond repair, except one. Date, October 13th. Time, 3:13 a.m. The grainy footage showed room 13. Elijah sitting upright in bed. Then he turned to face the camera. He smiled, and behind him, the wall split open like wet paper. A hand reached out, long, thin, covered in mouths. It stroked Elijah's hair like a mother would a child. The screen went black. Detective Voss didn't sleep that night. She watched the tape again and again. On the 5th replay, she noticed something new. In the corner of the frame, barely visible, were words scratched into the wall behind the boy. She needs more love. Voss started seeing things, at first just humming in her dreams, then whispers in the static of her car radio. Then the mirror in her bathroom cracked, not from heat or pressure, but from the inside. On it, written in condensation, "She's almost strong enough." She tried to walk away from the case, tried to convince herself it was burnout. But then she found the house, Elijah's original home, still standing, though the floors were warped and the air smelled of rot. Inside, she found the basement, candles long melted, symbols drawn in ash, and a single piece of paper in the center, fresh as if just written, "You're next, Marion." The next day, Voss drove to the Hollow Pines ruins. She didn't know what she was expecting: a body, a clue, a ghost. She brought a flashlight, her gun, and something she hadn't touched in years, a crucifix her mother gave her before she died. What she found was a door, beneath the debris buried under years of dirt and rubble. It led downward, far deeper than an orphanage basement should go. Voss descended. The air was thick, wet. The walls pulsed like lungs. She could hear humming. And then she saw them. Children, dozens of them, sitting in a circle, eyes missing, smiles carved into their faces, all humming the same tune Elijah had hummed the night his mother died. In the center of the room was a mirror, and inside the mirror, Elijah, not aged, not changed, smiling. Behind him, her, the grinning mother. No longer hiding in symbols or drawings. Real, huge, skin stretched like paper over bone, her face a permanent bloody grin. Dozens of mouths covered her arms and chest, all whispering at once. More love, more children, more silence. Voss raised her gun. Elijah shook his head slowly. "You can't kill what lives inside you now." She pulled the trigger anyway. The mirror cracked, but the humming didn't stop, and neither did the smiles. Voss was found wandering the woods near Hollow Pines 3 days later, covered in blood, smiling. She couldn't speak, just hummed. They say Hollow Pines is alive now. The ground breathes, the walls whisper, and room 13, it's always cold. Some nights, if you're close enough, you'll see a boy in the window, drawing with fingers stained in ash. Behind him, a woman with too many mouths. They are waiting for more love, for more silence. For you.